Turkey's economy is in tatters. Inflation and collapsing of Turkish lira is destroying factories, farmers, and retailers across the country. More than 2/3 of the people are struggling to pay for food and to cover their rent. But how once a powerful country has become this much miserable for its own people? Guys, welcome to this video. If you're new, please subscribe to my channel and let's go. So today we're going to talk about Turkey's economy, and the confusing part about Turkey's economy is that if you ask me about Turkey's economy 5 years ago, I would say a complete different thing. But before that, first let us settle on something. The country's name is not Turkey anymore. It's Türkiye, since the President Recep Tayyip Erdogan changed the name of the country last year. I know it sounds a little silly, but I think it's a pretty reasonable thing to do, because sometimes saying Turkey reminds me of Thanksgiving, and that Turkish people call it Türkiye in Turkey, like Dutch people in Germany. Anyway, let's talk about economy, right? So as I was saying, the country was growing enormously in GDP and any metric you can think of for a country to become a good place for its citizens between the years of 2000 and 2010. And this growth, although it slowed down, but it was rapidly getting better and better. Till 2020, the country was 9th biggest country in GDP, but everything started falling apart, and in the year of 2023, the country fell to 19th place of biggest countries in GDP, and 54 in purchasing power, and the hyperinflation that is suffering the people of Turkey is devastating. And do you want to know why? For that, first let me go back a little so I could explain Turkey's situation a little better. Turkey, or Turkey, is a country with a special geographical position. When I say special, I mean it's the only country in the world that has a city that half of it is in Asia and the other half is in Europe at the same time. The city's name is Istanbul. You may have been heard of it. So it makes the country a real strategic part of the world. And that makes Turkey lots of money, because it's basically the bridge between Asia to Europe. And since the country is surrounded by seas and water, it has even more worth from a touristic point that attracts millions of people to it. For more clarity, in last year, Turkey had over 15 million foreign visitors. That puts the country in the 9th place of the world's most visited countries in the world. But Turkish people had to sacrifice a lot for all of this. About 100 years ago, Ottoman Empire has been ripped apart, and there are only few places of the world's greatest power left. Now people are hopeless, and country's situation is devastating for its people. People die from different diseases and even hunger. The worst part was that there was nothing left from that once great culture. People didn't have last names or even names in some cases, and women in society had very low position. Until someone called Mustafa Kemal, or what they call him today, Atatürk, comes. A great war leader and a well-educated person that had very bright ideas for his nation. He starts a war against the countries who invaded the Ottoman Empire, and he tried to put together what was left from Ottoman Empire. After long and exhausting battles, he finally succeeds on getting back what he thought that belongs to Turkish people. And still people of this nation celebrate the last day of those brutal wars every year, the day that Atatürk won the battle against Greece and got back the city of Izmir and some islands around the city. And after 100 years, people of this city and this nation gathered to celebrate its 100th birthday last year. And as you can see in the picture, there were about 1 million people in that day that gathered in the city just to celebrate this birthday in a small park. Anyway, all of this made the love that Turkish people had to their country even bigger and bigger. You may ask, how much bigger? Let me tell you a story. In the year 2016, the price of dollar went up and Turkish lira was losing its value, and the government, on the other hand, didn't have the ability to control it. So what did Turkish people do? They went to exchanges around the country and they sold their dollars to banks and exchanges so that maybe they could help the government to stabilize the situation. I mean, really proud to these people. So finally, after all those years of wars and battles, Turkey was growing, and for 2 decades it kept raising its GDP for an average of 5.6% every year, and everything was going great until 2014. In 2014, a new man called Recep Tayyip Erdogan comes to power and wins the election, and that's the beginning of Turkey's today's struggles. So what are Turkey's problems anyway? Most important issue that the country is facing right now is its hyperinflation. You may think, well, inflation is a little bit normal in these days, but how about this? Last year, the price of $1 was around 12 Turkish liras, and today the price of $1 is around 27 Turkish liras. Is this normal? And the other big issue that the country is facing is that the enormous amount of money that the country owes to foreign countries, businesses and people. Now, let's look at every issue one by one. First, let's look at the reasons why the country is facing this amount of inflation. You will be amazed that the country's inflation problem could have been solved really easy last year if just the President Recep Tayyip Erdogan raised the interest rates. I know it sounds really stupid to say it could have been solved just with that, but it really could. One of the experts used the word too hot for this country's economy in 2021. What it means is that a country with having such a great amount of money flowing in it is too hot, and the central bank should raise the interest rate to control the amount of money flowing in the country's economy, or in other words, cool the country's economy down, or the country's economy will burn out. Now you may ask, so why didn't they do that? I mean, they're not dumb, right? Yeah, the answer is yeah, they're not dumb. But the actual answer is even more interesting. Well, Turkey is an Islamic country, and there are lots of people with strong beliefs living in it. And by coincidence, the president of this country is one of them. I mean Recep Tayyip Erdogan. Because of his religious beliefs, he didn't raise the interest rate because it was against the laws of the religion, and it's basically not good and moral. But finally, last week the president allowed the central bank to raise the interest rate about 7.5%, and I hope it helps the country's economy. Now, let's go to the second problem that we talked about. The other problem of the country was the enormous amount of its debt, and now you may ask why. So, do you remember that I said the president didn't want to raise interest rates? Well, he had to make money anyway, right? Basically, what he did to get some dollars flow into the economy is that he sold or he rented some lands to foreigners, and instead promised some profits. And by the way, he got some mortgages too. And there was lots of money coming in from countries like UAE, and you will be amazed how much money they gave or donated to Turkey. Well, someday he has to pay back this country's money. And I don't think he's able to do that yet because the country is struggling to pay its oil and gas bills. Anyway, let's come to a conclusion. If you are a person who is thinking of going to Turkey as a tourist, I 100% encourage you to do that. I mean, it's cheap, fancy, great sights, and great people, by the way. But if you are looking for immigration to this country, I definitely advise you against that. And I hope you like my video, and please like and subscribe to my channel if you want me to do this more.